Good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to welcome you to tonight's edition of Yes, You with my friends. This is your spiritual thought leader, Regina L. Stillman, and I am so glad to have Jonna and Rhonda with me on this fine evening. And we've got the galactic supervisor out there in the studio holding down the fort. And so I'm so glad that you thought it well to come in and join us on tonight. We have a good conversation waiting on you on this evening. That being said, I like to always kind of step back and give my friends an opportunity to tell me what went on in their world and share that with you on tonight. I want to thank you for being here. I see you out there, James JJ, and also Mel. That's my Mel. Listen, get a ride with her and she's gonna come back alone. That is our Mel. I said, Mel, I told him, I said, I really want them to give me some kind of command where we can put up there, go for a ride and come back alone. Because listen, that's repeat worthy. We just love it. And the Rebel Inc. is out there as well. And all of you others that may join as time goes along. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll start out with Jonna. What's going on in your world, dear?
Well, this week was, I'm not going to say uneventful. It was pretty calm. We had schools going well for the kids. This was our last week before spring break, so we were doing a lot of testing and all of that kind of stuff. I did get the first of my vaccinations on Thursday, and so that was interesting. And other than that, it's been pretty uneventful.
How did your vaccine? Now, you got it from personal care physician. Is that how you got yours?
No, I did not.
Child, my arm's been hunting, trying to track down a vaccine to put in it, and I can't find one. How did you get it?
Well, that website I sent you, I signed up on that, and they contacted me.
Wow.
And let me know that I could go. So that was that. It was interesting. It was way downtown, which is fine. And there was a line outside around the building. So I stood in line probably for an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I did see one lady go down, but that was before she got her vaccination. So I think she was just.
What do you mean she went down?
She fell out. She fell out. And I was just like, bless your heart. Get on up, though.
And it wasn't
stand
from
in this
the
line.
She just fell out.
She just fell out. Yeah.
If you stand for a long time and you don't stand correctly, it will make you pass out. Yeah. So, if you
I don't know if that's what I don't know. No, I think she was just overcome with anxiety. And just
I was gonna say, was she intoxicated or what's going on? She went down like she got the Holy Ghost.
She did. It reminded me of the church fallout, and especially when you pop back up, almost instantly, like, oh, people want to go.
Wow.
Right. So I was like, girl, please stop and get on in this line.
How old was she?
She was probably in her mid-50s, I would say.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh my bless her heart.
So did you have any issues? So she was concerned about the allergies and stuff like that?
I didn't have anything noteworthy. I sat after the vaccination for probably 15 or 20 minutes. And I did have a little bit of puffiness, right? But I think that might have been my own anxiety telling my face to swell up. And my face was like, okay, but just a little. Seriously, because there was nothing wrong with me. And then I drove on home and that was it. So the only thing, my arm hurt like the dickens for 2 days.
Yeah.
Really? It really did. Yes. Mm-hmm. And the shot itself, I barely even felt it. I was like, are you done? And she was like, yes, I am. But I went, I had my EpiPen in hand the whole time, off ready to go to stab myself with it, but it was fine. So Dwayne went later that day. And so we're almost fully vaccinated here.
I'm gonna have to go. That's good. I'm gonna have to keep at it. Listen, they were down there in the ark, honey. Who built the ark, honey? I was on my way to the ark because they were giving out shots down there left and right.
Yes.
I'm trying to track it down. So
now I heard they're having a big mass one at the stadium.
Yeah, I
So you
heard that.
might want to look into that.
I heard that. We'll see what they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you had to wait for an hour, that's going to be multiple hours in that big old arena just to
Oh,
get
yeah.
up there,
Oh
get that
yeah.
shot.
Wow.
But that's okay. I'm gonna get it. I ain't gonna get it till they hit it.
Right.
I'm gonna keep on till I get my stuff vaccinated. So, good for you. Good for you. And you had the 2 days of soreness, and that was basically
Yeah.
other. And your mouth and face was really responding.
Isn't that nuts? But yes, because I was so concerned that I was going to be one of those ones with my severe allergies to have a reaction. And it
Uh-huh.
was like my mouth was just to make it right for me,
Right.
to swell up a little bit and then go on back down.
Your body heard your brain talking.
Yes, absolutely. Which is, it does hear you talking
It
and
does.
it will respond.
I do believe
So,
that. I do believe
absolutely.
that. I
Hmm.
really, really do. I
But
love it.
then I pulled myself together. It's like, girl, drive home. You are fine.
Come
And
on.
so I did.
Come on.
Right.
And you're halfway there. So you go now. Did you
Yes.
get the John? Okay, I didn't know if you got the Johnson and Johnson or the Moderna
I would have
or
loved
the
Johnson and Johnson because I don't want to do that day again. But I got the Moderna.
you got the Moderna.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, Pfizer's out there too. Teresa is our resident Pfizer, and actually, Teresa, correct me if I'm wrong. Were Pfizer and J&J together? Are they subsidiary, something subsidiary to the other? I don't remember. I think they're joined, but you would be the perfect person to tell us since that's where you made your career and your living. So, but that Pfizer and the Moderna, I'm kind of opting for. I hope I can get the J&J and get that one and done. That's just me
Mhm.
personally. But I'm gonna take whoever first. Whoever says I can get one first, that's where my hind is going. So, Rhonda, tell me about your situation and what went on down in the Ark. But I think, are you fully vaccinated now?
No, no, no,
Okay.
no. I'm not. But I've been working with so many of different ones. I even get confused myself because last week I think I told you I did the Moderna, but I actually did the Pfizer.
Okay.
So, but I'm in and out of so many. I'm like, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing for myself.
Wow.
But one thing about here is, boy, we're working together to get the community vaccinated, and we are having pop-up clinics every time you turn around. We had 3 yesterday.
Mhm.
And so people, I mean, and it's not according to the stages that they're going, like the age 60 and above, and then the ones
Hmm.
that has the medical conditions and blah blah. If you show up, you're getting vaccinated.
Okay.
And like the ones I sent to you, I think yeah, I did send it to all of you. I believe the one yesterday that they did at OK Foods,
Hmm.
which is a
Mhm.
chicken company, pet manufacturing company here. They gave out vaccines and free chicken.
I should
So
have been there.
right,
Right.
whatever you can do to get the people come out and get vaccinated. And I was going to say they sold out, but they gave all that they had.
Wow.
And then we had one on further down the street from me at one of the United Methodist churches. Where they had several, and if you just come and complete the little form they have, and show your ID, you got vaccinated. So we're
Awesome.
not going by the schedule at all.
Awesome.
We're
That's
getting
awesome.
people vaccinated. I received an email and a text today stating that I've got another appointment on coming for another place that I had signed up for. So I need to let them know that no, I've already gotten mine. I won't be going, but they're contacting people. But
Awesome.
my second one is this coming Wednesday. Then I will be
Good.
fully vaccinated. But
Good.
hey, we're working together. We're getting this thing done.
That's good. I know Main Man is fully vaccinated, and he's one of the few that I know that's fully vaccinated at this point. But we're getting it done now. As I recall, y'all was looking for arms to put the vaccine in down there in the Ark, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm sending texts, I'm sending emails, I'm sending to everybody I know of. Say, get there, get there. We need arms. The one they sent me, we needed 350 arms. Hey,
Wow.
let's get it done.
Wow.
So,
Mhm.
and it's everywhere. It's not just that, like I said, it's not just at the convention center. It was at OK Food, and that was at a church, and they're just popping up at pharmacies. And like I said, I've been working with trying to get Killers because he's wheelchair bound
Mm-hmm.
and how to get his. Well, I called I ain't gonna say his name out, but he's the owner of one of our pharmacies. He's
Yes.
coming to the house Tuesday
Mm.
to
Isn't
get
that
him
Oh,
precious?
that's
his.
good.
Mhm. So I'm telling people, if you know anybody that's homebound, I don't want to leave anybody out. I want to advocate for whoever I need to. Is anybody else that I can help get their vaccination? And that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, he's coming to the house.
That's good. That is so
Hmm.
awesome. That is so awesome. And then we had a situation here, John. I don't know if you saw it, where Lawrence, I think it was, had almost 600 vials that went to waste because it was So, and then we had the scenario. I think their situation was when they got it, it was already thawed. And then the small community down in southern Missouri, somewhere, they had all kinds of vaccines that went to waste because they didn't have enough people to give it to. And I'm like, now we got arms waiting to get something and we can't get it. And y'all wasting stuff left and right. Now, of course, I mean, the 600 that went in Lawrence, you really can't fault Lawrence because they don't have any control on if the stuff got there and it was already thawed out. That has nothing to do with them. So, but it's just like, what are we doing here? How
Right.
are we not? Because people need this. We really need to move forward with this and get it done. So, at the end of the day, I hope you guys haven't had scenarios like that down in the Ark, correct? You guys
Not
are
at
flowing
all.
real
No,
smoothly.
ma'am. As soon as we find it or whatever, we're saying, hey, come, 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 come. We're not going to waste anything.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to use your address.
Hey, come on. You could have got some free chicken just right down the street.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you, I'm gonna have to use your address and be a resident of Arkansas for a hot second,
Hmm.
just long enough to get my shots and come on home. Now, what's going on with you down there in Texas? Everything's big in Texas. Tyrone.
Everything is big in Texas. Well, as everyone knows, we opened up officially on Wednesday
Uh-huh.
of this week. A good thing is that people are still wearing their mask. A lot of the major chain stores, like your Targets and Kroger and Home Depot, they have to be consistent across the board. So they're still enforcing, wearing your mask, social distancing. A lot of them have taken their approach that we won't, they're not going to put up the fight with a customer who doesn't want to wear their mask. But they're highly advising people to continue to wear their masks, social distance, not gather in large groups, this, that, and the other. The crazy thing is that a lot of people I see, especially out here where we live, it's the senior citizens that are no longer wanting to wear masks.
Mm,
And that was one of the biggest thing was that we wore masks because we wanted to make sure that, people who, may have had, a pre-existing medical condition or something was taken care of. They're like the main ones out here in this part of town and of course our dominant race, but they're the main ones out here in this part of town that's just like, they say we don't have to wear a mask, I'm good. It
mm,
is what it is. I'm in and out stores and it's crazy. But from what I've seen thus far out here, people are, they're taking their time, still wearing their masks. I do know that a lot of our school districts, regardless of your age, I know here in Frisco and I believe in Fort Worth, like all the teachers have been vaccinated. Um, you know, Regardless of your age and everything else is about, people are being vaccinated. So that's a good thing,
yes.
versus going through the whole like phases and stages and this, that, and the other. Because with everything opening up, that's kids are going to have to go back to school. So they're really just pushing people being vaccinated here.
That's good. That's good. And you have one shot and one to go. Is that correct?
Yes. So we got the Moderna last week, and then we get the second one on April 1st.
Okay, cool.
But
Cool.
my arm was sore for 2 days as well, like sore.
That's fine. And Jonna, like you said, because I was with my best friend, one of them, when she got her shot, and she didn't even know the lady had given her the shot. It was just that painless. And we were talking in the car, and she turned around, and the lady was like, "I'm done." And she's like, "You gotta give me the shot." She said, "I already gave it to you." She literally did not know that she had been shot. So was your experience close to that, where you really felt nothing?
If I had not been paying attention, I would not have known. I mean, it wasn't even a pinch. It was just like a scratch or a scrape.
Uh-huh.
And if I had not been paying attention, I would have not. I wouldn't have known.
Same for you,
Yeah.
Tyrone?
Yeah, like it's you very quick in and out. I didn't think I didn't start to feel like any pain. It was almost like once you get your flu shot, you know, you have a little soreness around the arm. It did last maybe like a day or two, but I mean, actually getting the shot was in and out. The longest part was waiting that 15 minutes just to make sure you were good before you left. Yeah.
And what about you, Rhonda? What was your experience as far as pain level 0?
Right. Y'all know I don't do needles at all. And I couldn't even tell that they had given me the shot, but I didn't even get sore. And that's the difference. I'm hearing that the Moderna, your arm is sore for a day or so, and the Pfizer is really not. And I hadn't heard anything about the Johnson. I don't know.
And they're here in Texas, especially like the school teachers, they're all getting the Johnson & Johnson, the one shot.
One and done.
Yeah, one and done.
I would love to have the one and done, but I'm gonna take whatever I can get first. Teresa, I was still waiting to see, is Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer connected? Just throw that in there real quick. And not that it makes any difference, but for some reason I want to know, because I'm thinking you guys are connected, but I'm not sure if you're connected. J&J and Pfizer, I think, are married some kind of way. Now, as we get, and again, we want to encourage and ask all of you, please get vaccinated. Please get vaccinated if you will. Now, at the end of the day, we respect you. If you let every man be persuaded in his own mind, if you feel like you really do not want to take it for whatever reason, we're going to love you, and we just going to just keep on embracing you at a distance. But we just going to keep on loving you and all that good stuff. But we want to try to encourage everybody that will. Please, please, please get vaccinated for yourself. I know there used to be a commercial said, do it for the loved ones in your lives, but I want you to do it for yourself if you would. And if something in you will allow you to make that step, please do. And that's why we keep talking about it. We're going to keep talking about it until hopefully everybody that's in this chat has at least given it its utmost consideration on whether or not to get the vaccination. Now,
it's funny, not to discourage anybody, but I was talking to my mom in Virginia about getting vaccinated, and she's gonna go when she's able to, this, that, and the other. But did y'all hear about the story where the lady was vaccinated with an empty vial? What? Because they got so busy giving people vaccines that one of the doctors or nurses put an empty vial with the vials that were supposed to, like full vials. They were just moving so fast. So she injected the lady and there was nothing in the vial.
So she got air?
Just air.
Air in the bloodstream will kill you.
This woman, I even looked it up. She said she got injected with an empty vaccine shot in Virginia. I
can't even wrap my brain around that. Because I mean, you got to draw the fluid into the syringe. And so she should have seen something there, but then above and beyond, just air in your veins will take you up out of here.
Yeah, she said this woman got injected with the empty COVID vaccine shot. So I'm assuming they were just, filling the needles and just moving just through the system. Maybe one person filled the needles and then another one was administering them, and somehow she got an empty one.
I got a life career nurse who retired from nursing and said not possible.
Yeah, so what is she complaining about? I mean, did it hurt her? Is she hurt? I mean, what is she saying?
But Rhonda, this is the thing. Like, if you watch them when they push the fluid in there, because they got to get all the air out of there.
Right.
That's why they'll fill it more then and then push it back up to basically wean that off, so that all you have in there is fluid and no air. And so my brain is trying to process
that's
that.
That's what I don't understand. What is she saying? What is she complaining? I mean, what?
I think honestly, she was probably just, because I always thought if you just inject air into someone's veins, you're up out of here.
Listen.
But I had to look it up because sometimes our mother's stories don't always be correct. But there's on CNN. On CNN, a woman says she describes getting an empty COVID-19 shot vaccination.
Okay, her 15 minutes is up. That was not nice. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm just that my brain is like, I'm like Jim's JJ. I just don't even see how that's possible, because honey, she should have woke up dead. So she should have woke up dead. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around that because I know that's why they bleed that syringe at the end to make sure ain't no air in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, somebody got a lion spirit.
But it's on CNN.com. She in Virginia. She
That's I'm
talks
like,
about
what's the
getting the
story?
empty.
I'm not getting that storyline because
Listen,
that ain't
not
happening.
to mention when you are actually bleeding that thing off, you got to actually look at the whatever's in there. Okay.
She said she got an empty one.
Well, that's what she said. She
Look,
said
that's not all that's empty.
Well, it got her on CNN, so
well, that's what Rhonda said. She got her 15 minutes and it's over.
she got her 15 minutes.
It's over. It's that's fake news, Mel. That's fake news. Jams JJ, that's what I'm saying. You got to do a visual because you got to look at the thing so that you can bleed that thing off down to make sure ain't no air in there. So yeah, I'm having a stretch on that one, Ty. But hey, I hear you. I hear you. Now, as we get ready to move into our conversation tonight, I just want to look into the camera and tell y'all I wanted to start this off with I was wrong. I was WRONG. I'm not like Fonzie. Y'all remember on Happy Days, he never could say wrong. He'd say because he just couldn't say he was wrong. Now, I went back and fell asleep 5 times trying to watch Coming to America. It
5 times?
I ain't lying. That movie knocked me out cold 5 times. I just couldn't keep my eyes open. It just puts me to sleep. I have no interest. But I finally got to the one little scene at the end where he made her the queen when he died. She's going to be Queen of Zamunda and he's going to be, her brother was going to be the ambassador and Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to come back and clarify because I like my facts and my information on Yes You to be correct. And so Rhonda, y'all missed Rhonda last week because she just kind of she underneath her eyes looked over me and said, go back and watch it again. Yes, she did, girl. Yes, she did. But it's okay. It didn't hurt my feelings. It didn't hurt my feelings. I said I'd already decided before you told me, before you made the conversation, that I was going to go back and watch it again because I just could not stay woke, y'all. It's a sleeper. So at the end of the day, after 5 times, I finally saw the scene, and so I had to come back and make that right. So I wanted to address that. Why y'all laughing? Y'all laughing?
I couldn't bring myself to try to watch it again. I just can't do it. I mean,
it's a good movie.
It was alright. I'm not watching it again.
I think people are caught up in the original.
No,
and their expectations are off the original. But I feel. No. It was a good movie.
How you gonna tell me my expectations?
Just like this, people are caught up in the original.
I think the plot was lacking. The storyline was basic.
Come on.
There was some storyline issues. I feel that it was very cheesy, but I felt like it was just a feel good movie. Just just something.
And
it was
that's
great.
Okay. I'm just trying to tell you, mine was not. You can't put words and feelings in.
Was Stella involved?
Wasn't no Stella nowhere.
Oh.
Why do I have to be drunk or tipsy or something? I'm just trying. What are you saying, young man? What are you saying?
It was still good. I just didn't feel like watching it again.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it again, but I felt it served its purpose. But I'm not gonna sit and watch it again. No.
Okay, and I'm saying the only reason why I watched it again 5 times was because it kept knocking me out, and I kept waking up and having to come back. So at the end of the day, I had to persevere so I could see this scene that rectified patriarchy in this system. So they did rectify it. I just wanted to come back and correct my error of my ways. However, the error of my ways had nothing to do with my expectations from the former movie. Please don't fix your lips to say it again, because it's not so. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord, I love you, Tyrone. I love you. Now, this is where I want to go tonight. And I just want to get that in because I do want to make correction. Now, I'm not going to give all the assorted details, and there's not a whole lot to say. But my conversation tonight, I kind of want, and I hope the people out there listening, I want y'all to kind of jump in and talk to me and help me along the way in this conversation. My topic tonight, I want to draw from the fact that right now in the Christian arena, there's a whole lot of uproar. And I think most of y'all know what the uproar is about. And so I don't have a heaven or hell to put nobody in. So that's not my conversation about whether who's right, who's wrong, what. What I do want to address and I want to talk about tonight is, and I really want to speak to Black people, but I want to speak to everybody, but I really want to talk to Black people. Are we killing our babies with our mouths? And or is it okay to run our babies in the ground like we're talking to somebody off the street and think that they're going to be okay? Because I feel like, and I'm not trying to pass judgment, but where is the line that we have? And I'm not talking about a churchy religious line, because people can not use one cuss word and still tear their children down to the ground. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to look at the realities of when it comes from a parent or a close loved one that you respect. And in this instance, maybe there's disrespect there, but at the end of the day, it's still a parent and an adult figure that happens to be where you come from. And I don't know, something in my shondo. And again, let's take the cussing off the table and let's just deal with words, because the church world is all caught up in the cussing. I don't care about the cussing. I care about how far do we, and I consider myself part of that we, even though I haven't birthed any children from my loins. I have birthed children from my heart and from my ministry, from my relationships. How far do we feel it's okay to go when I really don't even know that that's discipline? To me, it's like a level of abuse. And I'm kind of step back and let you all comment on that. But at the end of the day, will a child ever forget that my parents said these words to me? I have a problem with that. I have a real problem with that. I'm gonna start with you, Jonna. I see you having a very outward reaction to what I'm talking about from the standpoint of your parenting. Can you ever imagine words coming out of your mouth? And I understand getting mad, but words coming out of your mouth that are just absolutely destructive towards your children. I mean, is there a line? And I'm gonna say this and I'm out. I've seen, in defense of the individual that did the cussing out, when I read, there are a lot of people like, child, if that's my child, that's exactly what I would have done. And so and children today are different than children back in the day. And so you just got to go there with them. So that's the other school of thought that goes along with that. And you all may chime in and feel like that's the same for you. I'm just wanting to know how far is too far, and are we destroying our own babies?
This one is a tough one. I heard the recording and I wasn't shocked at who was doing the cussing, because I just wasn't. But I was concerned. I can't imagine ever speaking to one of my children like that. I cannot imagine ever that amount of anger. And I'm sure there's some hurt on both ends. It would have to be, to get that kind of response. But I can't imagine ever speaking. If my baby is 50 years old, when she speaks to me, there is still somewhere in there a little girl talking to her mother. And I would never in a million years, and not, I understand I say that now, But I would never in a million. I hope and pray to God that nothing ever moves me to speak to anybody, but especially my own like that. And I hope and pray to God that nothing moves them to respond like that because that was out of order too. The whole thing was out of order.
But a lot, and I agree, but there's a lot of disrespect breeds disrespect, and that
Mm-hmm.
you get what you put out there. So that is a lot of the, and listen, there is and I'm again, I really wasn't trying to talk specifically about that situation, but definitely that's the conversation because that's current news today and it's hot as apple pie. But I'm just trying to understand in our conversation about the village, at what level and to what extent do we see a difference between correction and dealing with our children and what actually becomes an element of breaking somebody down, and of course young folks hear cussing all the time, so it's not like my day. I didn't hear cussing. Cussing wasn't in my environment. Now some folks my age, there was cussing in their environment, but not like we have today. I mean, it's the difference between night and day, 1963 versus 2021. But at the same time, even with the desensitizing to the cussing and whatever, I'm still trying to take the cussing off the table, and just at what level is your reprimand destructive towards your child? Rhonda, what do you think?
I'm about ready to cuss.
Because she grew up hearing cussing.
I did what?
She grew up hearing cussing. And I did too, trust me.
No, I did not.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know nothing about Rhonda's mama cussing.
Right. No, that did not happen. Uh, I don't know. It's sad. That situation is sad, but any situation like that is really, really sad because it's come to that point. Everybody's looking at that one at this time, but that's apparently been brewing for a long time.
Right.
So there's some serious, serious issues. And no, none of us want to ever think that we will talk to each other. I talk to my kids or my kids talk to me. Nobody wants to ever think, that would happen. And I pray that something deep down inside of me will not allow it to happen.
Yeah.
However, I'm not perfect and you might push that button. Because I tell you what, I can talk professional, I can talk sweet, I can talk religious, and I can cuss you out at the same time.
Out. Okay.
Right. Right.
So if you push that button, but I pray that I don't ever get that point where I would talk to my kid or my parent like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
something deep has been going on for a while that caused both of them to get there, and it just exploded.
And see, I'm trying to move away from that particular, but that is the impetus for this conversation tonight, without a doubt. But put what James JJ said up there one more time. Thank you. As a mother of adult children, trust me, they remember every word you said. And I want to go here because, and that's why I want to take it even away from the cussing. Everybody is so hung up on that element as it relates to Christianity. That is not where I am. That's not what I'm really talking about. And again, I'm going to move it away from cussing because, as James JJ said, probably one of my biggest hurdles that my mother and I rectified years ago, after I was preaching, though, I was actually doing a women's retreat down in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, out in the mountains somewhere. I don't even know where I was, but it was a healing ministry workshop where at the end of the day, I had people write stuff down. And then at the end of the seminar, we burned it. Whatever we wrote on the paper, we burned it, in the fire. Well, my thing was, I remember my mother, and you all have probably heard me tell this story. I remember my mother saying to the neighbor at my grandfather's house, that woman gave my mother a penny. As a matter of fact, my mother didn't say anything. That woman gave my mother a penny and said, I'm going to give you something for this one. Now, my mom was over there because she was helping her clean her dirty house because she was old and up in age. That woman gave my mother a penny and said, I'm going to give you something for this one because she's skinny, black, and ugly. Now, the woman's comments wasn't what tore me up. Now, that did hurt my heart. But what tore me up was that my mother took the penny. Now, as Joanna said, and this is no negativity towards my mother because we talked about this and it was a beautiful reconciliation. It was a wonderful reconciliation. But I'm bringing that up to say, as James JJ said, as a mother of a, and that, I wasn't even in school yet. Let's go there. The reason why my siblings were not there was because they were in school, but I wasn't old enough to go to school. So wherever mama went, I had to go with her because honey, there wasn't no babysitting, wasn't leaving nobody with nothing, none of that. You was going wherever mama went, that's where you was going. Your hips was going. So you're talking about something that predates me going to school, even kindergarten. But I remember my mother taking that penny like it was yesterday. So when my mother and I had the opportunity to have the conversation to rectify that, and we really, really talked about it at that setting, it was a beautiful opportunity for healing. Now, it didn't just go away overnight, but we had several opportunities to talk about it. And it also gave her an opportunity to come from where she was and how she was raised and so on and so forth and da, 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 da. So there's a lot of, it's like an onion. You got to unpeel all those layers. It's layers. And then even from that, we were able to talk about what happened to her because her mother died when she was 12 years old and the stuff that happened to her after that. So you're talking about layers and layers and layers. So yes, there's a whole lot there that's involved. But at the end of the day, parents have to know that their behaviors and their actions with their kids, man, it doesn't just go away. And it's not a, I'm human and I just had a moment, in my opinion. And so I'm trying to get some understanding our ability to justify and let me say this and I'm out. Y'all can go ahead and talk and I'm gonna be quiet. Good evening, Dog Lex. Good to have you in here. But at the end of the day, I feel like what troubled me so badly about it was my mother. Now, somebody else that could have been, but I'm like, it was my mama. So I hear what y'all saying, but I mean, those heart hurts go deep. And just like Joanna said, kids do not forget what their parents said or did, and it shapes their life for their future. Because I did a whole lot of crazy behavior because I still had that, my mama thinks I'm worth a penny. Now, I had to go counseling for that, y'all. That's real talk. And so at the end of the day, when I started uncovering some of my crazy behavior and we were able to get all the way back to that penny, it made perfect sense. But we don't want to deal with that stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm still saying, I'm going to go back to Joanna. Your kids, remember. And if you're the adult and this is what you're doing to the child, now come on now. That's me. So I'm gonna shut up and let y'all say. And I understand what you're saying too, Rhonda, that we're still human and da 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 da. But I'm out. Tyrone, I didn't give you an opportunity to express your thoughts on that. But I mean, this situation from my own past personal experience, this is the kind of stuff that tear you up from now until Jesus comes. Just about if you don't go get some professional help.
And I think culturally, we're known to, we can be very powerful with our words as just who we are as people. And it's also a bigger conversation of just how you engage with people, period. People will always remember how you make them feel. As a kid, your parents anybody can say something to you to tear you down and it's going to stay with you. But that's the same way as an adult is going to take it. So it's a conversation of, we have to be mindful of how we engage with people, because your words are sometimes a whole lot more powerful than you putting your hands on me. Because I can heal from the burn, I can heal from the bruise, but what you said to me, whether it's your spouse, your parents, just a stranger in the street, will tear you apart. So that's something I feel culturally, in all cultures, but I know as African Americans, nobody wants to rumble with us in the streets, because we can say some things out of our mouth to people that will shake your whole world upside down.
But and that's something right?
It's not right. No. And that's what I'm saying. We have to be mindful of, as people, how we engage with people, because in that moment, I'm mad, I'm hurt, I'm offended, and my goal is I'm gonna do the same to you.
But
And
a
our words can be very powerful.
A parent to a child.
I would say anybody outside of a parent to a child, adult to an adult. There has to be a difference in I'm schooling you, I'm disciplining you verbally, and I'm breaking you down. And like I said, it's a conversation for people as a whole. A parent shouldn't do it at all. We have to understand that parents are human. And then, like we talked about, there's an onion, because what was their parent childhood like? What was their experience like? I mean, you look at I haven't seen the video, heard about it, but then you look at Kirk Franklin's childhood, which wasn't the best. He went through being bullied and this, that, and the other. So there's a whole nother story to that. So we have to look at how we process our emotions and how we interact with people as a whole.
I hear you. So I'm gonna come back to you, Jonna, as a mom of 3, especially daughters. And of course, I'm not gonna exclude young men, because young men are just as tenderhearted as our young daughters are. And I think sometimes we do a disservice by assuming that females are carrying wounds so much heavier than our males are, and both of them are carrying wounds. And I think we got to address this in some other kind of way. But at the end of the day, and to kind of go, I understand what Tyrone is saying. Parents may be wounded themselves, then parents need to get help. But this whole element of taking it on to the next generation, because at the end of the day, to me, those types of words are still in actions, or even inaction. To not protect your child is an inactive abuse. So where you at, Jonna?
I think parents, especially Black parents, and I only say that because that's all I have experience with. Like Tyrone said, we can be a little mouthy, but I think we need to grow up from that, because we've seen the destruction that it has had. Okay, I can tell you, I didn't get cussed at. There was cussing in my house, absolutely. It was a whole bunch of people. And anytime I would see a parent cuss at their kid, I would get, shocked. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that to your kid. But there were other small messages sent, and I believed them because they're coming from parents or even older people.
Right.
And we have to be extremely cautious of what we are saying. And sometimes you don't even have to say it. It could be your energy that we are giving these kids, because they believe us. They believe every word that's coming out of your mouth, even if it's ignorant, even if you're angry, even if you're having a bad day, but you're programming that brain. And whatever we say, that is what they believe, and they will act it out one way or the other. And then somebody will have to come along later in life, deprogram the crap. And it's difficult to get that out.
Oh, it is.
You've grown up with it.
Yes.
It's like teaching somebody another language.
Baby, I did like 10 journals.
Listen, I could pull out some journals right now. And also it almost becomes the default. You can, walk in your newness and then get bombarded and default back to that little kid with all that crap, and then you have to start over again. Parents, we don't get the liberty of having a bad day when it comes to speaking to and over your kids. You don't get the liberty to say whatever you want to say. You don't get that liberty. So, if you're just human, that's fine. Shut your mouth, though, because whatever you speak out of it will bring its ass back right in your face. One way or another, it's coming back. Well, I've seen that, lived it out.
Okay, and Rhonda, I'm feeling you that I heard you when you say, "Oh, I want to cuss," because you understand the reality of the adult side of being human and having to deal, even though we don't want that to happen. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. You weren't coming with that kind of negative energy. You were just saying, I understand both sides. So at the end of the day, how much of that do you feel like we're going to have to go back and try to heal? Well, actually, we don't even have to go there. We don't even have to go there. There's already something at the root, obviously, that didn't get addressed a long time ago that now has gotten out of control. But you know, I just wonder, how do we move forward to heal it? Because at this point we got a domino effect, and even as we've seen other family members, and I won't go through all of that, but other family members then came in and started chiming in and saying stuff, and so now you got, and this is the what I consider to be the disadvantage of this day and time, that you can have a whole family situation that should be private publicly go forth on the internet for everybody and their mama to see. And so there's no privacy, there's no ability to handle your business without everybody watching and looking. How do we go about trying to heal that stuff, Rhonda?
Oh, girl, pray. But the only thing, no, but before, I never did say do it because you're human. I don't know where that came from. But no, I didn't say they're doing it because they're human. I said, look, there's some issues that's been brewing for years and years on both sides. And now it has come to a head.
Okay.
And so they both need to get some help. Both. Not both need some help. And you know, again, our people just do not want to go, you know, get any help, go talk to anybody. But there's some serious issues, just like you all been saying all day long. It's like an onion. You got to unpeel and unpeel and unpeel. At the same time, you don't ever want to talk to your child like that.
Right.
I said that from the beginning. You don't ever want to talk to your child like that. Not saying that you won't if they push that button, but you don't want to. And you need to refrain from doing so. Like somebody said, I don't know who said it. Words hurt.
Yes.
Mhm.
And what's the thing they used to say? Sticks and stones may break my bones.
Yes.
But what's
Names
words
will never hurt me.
names hurt you? Yes, it will.
Yes.
Because it goes inside, and you will never forget what someone said to you, what someone called you. I mean, words hurt. And it's hard to forget that. And that's the only way you're gonna have to is go and get some help, talk to somebody, and then come together and talk it out. Like you and your mother did. You came to your mother and you had a conversation.
Yes.
They're gonna have to talk it out with somebody without cussing at each other, because if you touch, that's our problem. We don't talk to listen, and we don't talk to understand. We talk to respond.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not listening
That's
to what I'm
if we talk
saying.
at all.
Yeah. You're ready to respond to something instead of actually listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in doing that, now you're ready to argue.
Yeah.
And then argument, you get louder and louder. Nobody understands what anybody's saying. And then everybody's getting frustrated. Now here come, you know, you're not talking about the cuss word, but then here come the cuss words. Here come the disrespect. And it's just out of control. And no, you don't ever. Girl, you know, girl, mom was, I'm going to say, yes, I am. I would have found myself getting up off the floor if I had talked to my mama like that.
Ooh.
Correct.
Oh.
She was not a cusser. She was not a beater, a whooper, or anything, unless we got to. But to talk to her like that, to disrespect her,
Oh, baby.
oh yeah.
Oh, baby.
And
You'd have
that
woke
way,
up tomorrow.
right? And so,
Yeah.
no way will I ever. And I didn't agree with my mom on everything, but you know what? If I didn't, guess what I did? Left the room.
Mm-hmm. Respect.
I'm not gonna disrespect my parents.
And see, it's a different day. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
she was not gonna talk. My mama has never called me out of my name and never called me da da da. You know, never. And we've got to get back to that. And they're gonna have to peel that onion. It's probably a bigger onion than we can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the only way they're gonna get some help and understanding.
Yeah. Mel, we are addressing where the boundaries and the limits are between parent and child, and speaking what could be considered abusive words to your child. Oh, okay, you already posted. Thanks. So you know, and I'm exactly with you, Rhonda. Now, this is what we have to address. You know, like you said, you would have been waking up tomorrow. Now, these kids today have a whole lot more. It's safe to enter, Mr. Reynolds. Come on in and welcome to you. At the end of the day, We
St.
have a
Louis.
whole lot more liberty for the children nowadays to really become very verbally uh, liberal. I'm gonna use it that way. They have a liberality to say whatever they want to say to their parents in this time of letting the children express themselves. And so there's a little bit of difference between what we were taught as respect and what these kids can do now. And it's not considered disrespect. It's considered let my child speak, which to me many times is disrespect. So I think where I'm coming from there, a lot of times the kids were disrespectful when they were little bitty toddlers. They were talking to folks crazy when they were little. And I'm talking about mom and
people thought it was cute.
they thought it was cute. I've seen kids walk up to their parents and be like, bam. I mean, physically hit them, and it ain't no small hit. And I'm looking at them like, but listen, because I worked in domestic relations for the city of Kansas City, Kansas. Believe you me when I say I was shocked, stunned, and amazed when I saw elder abuse and it was their children that was beating them up in the home. I'm telling you, I ain't lying. And the first time I saw this little Caucasian white lady come in and she was beat to a pulp by her son, who was living in her house with no job, and he was in his 50s. I was flabbergasted. But I'm going to tell you what, he didn't start that behavior at 50 something. He been doing that for a minute. So, and mama let him, mama thought it was cute. Mama thought it was funny. Mama thought whatever mama thought. But when I got her in that office, mama had a concussion and she was beat up black and blue. So at the end of the day, she's snotting and crying to me. I just don't know why my son would do this to me. And so as we uncovered information, son been like this the whole time and you've been tolerating it. So I'm saying that for the reason of, I think sometimes, and I'm not even putting it on the child in this instance, and I'm really trying to move away from that specific and talk generally. I'm just trying to address a lot of times the kids are already out of control because the parents let that behavior be out of control, or the parent was out of control, or better yet, and I'm going to be real, and some of y'all may get mad at me right here. There's a whole generation that came immediately behind me that raised themselves because their parents, even if they were in the house, were not parenting.
But I feel there's, and again, as a whole, there's a bigger issue that needs to be addressed. Because we can look at, even for me, and I'm considered the younger generation, even for me, I can see a kid in a grocery store. I get nervous if I hear them speak back to their parents, because to me, it was like, oh, that was not tolerated when I was a kid. That's how I was raised. But then was that healthy as well? So we find this balance of, in our generation, I'm gonna say our, because I feel we all grew up in a generation where we knew mama didn't have to cuss or daddy didn't have to cuss, but we knew to stay in line. But was that healthy as well? Was it a thing of respect, or was there a thing of fear?
No,
and now we've gone to the extreme with this newer generation where they're a little more liberated and they're acting out totally.
Let me tell you what, I am Anna Marie didn't play no games. I am the product of probably one of the strictest people that I know as far as a mother in this world. Even at her funeral, my goddaughter got up and said, Grandma Stem was like, that's cousin's kin. You ain't having it. And so she said, but the funny thing about it, she's finding herself doing the same thing with her child. I mean, mama didn't play. But at the same time, I didn't have a fear of her like somebody that's going to abuse me. But I tell you what, I didn't even have to see mama. Mama could clear her throat. And I didn't even have to see her. And I knew sitting my tail down.
Correct. But it doesn't have to be to the extreme of it's a fear of I'm going to be abused. But it can be a fear of, and then we look at some of our actions and traits as we've gotten older, will I speak out on things? Will I always stand up for myself when I'm around a figure of authority? Will I do this, that, and the other? Because that was how I was raised. My parents were my figure of authority, and I would never challenge them. So it's a balance of, and it's not, like I said, not to the extreme of they're going to abuse me, but it's a thing of I know my place. So now we have the other extreme with our younger generations where those people who've raised kids and have kids they wanted something different. So now you got a 50-year-old son beating his mama. So there's an extreme on both ends. And there has to be a communication and a understanding of what's the bigger picture there.
I think Joanna, James JJ said something. Communication is the key. Yes. Because you need to have communication with your child. Now, like I said, and I want to go back to the situation with my mama, because I don't want anybody getting some kind of negative thought, because this was probably the transformative changing point for my world. Because when I set her down to talk about it, she was open to hear what I had to say. That's huge, because some parents don't want to hear what I may have done that was wrong or hurt you in a way that you need to talk to me now about how wounded you were. Number two, she didn't badmouth me after I told her what happened, because she was there too and she knew it. The other thing that takes your voice away is when you get the opportunity to talk to the parent and the parent doesn't want to acknowledge that this actually happened. Mm-hmm. That is even almost more destructive than if you had just stayed quiet. So my mother, first and foremost, had to be open enough. And again, there was that place. I didn't fear her. It was just a matter of, y'all know, we didn't come from the time of Oprah where they just get up and start talking about all day feelings and carrying on. That wasn't our generation. You didn't just come in blabbering at the mouth. I feel this, I feel that. Oprah was good for bringing us to that place. But at the same time, my mother had to give me a welcome place for me to be able to approach the issue. And from there, we had a beautiful, beautiful dialogue. And from time to time would revisit it and talk about it more. And it also gave her an opportunity to talk about her healing places that she needed also. So you have to have that welcome, and the communication is the key. Now, that could have gone a whole lot of different ways if she had not been open and welcome. Mm-hmm. Listening. Now, when you talk about somebody that's abusive, when they can't hear where they missed the mark and they still gonna beat you down and hold you, that is oppressive and abusive, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
But even in your situation with your mom, when you were in a position and a place to converse with her about it, were you older?
I was older. I told you I was actually preaching a women's seminar down in Atlanta, Georgia, and she always traveled with me when I would go. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, and this is where I deal with transparency. Some of the preachers may not. I wasn't going to just talk about y'all do this and I didn't do it myself. So if I'm doing it and I'm writing my stuff on my paper and my mother's there and she's writing her stuff on her paper, and then we're exchanging and going through the healing process, we had to address that. But no, I was grown and pastoring a church.
And was there something that it took you to that long to get to that point to address this made me feel this kind of way? Well, because I know with my mom, I'm a grown man and we're just now talking about things, because as a kid and the Pam back then, we can have those conversations.
Well, let me tell you, because and this is why I really want to push this agenda and issue, because once you set your child up and start talking to them a certain kind of way and they shut down, that leaves them open prey to all kinds of mess.
Correct.
Because from there, because I'm already in this mindset that I ain't worth a penny. Y'all ain't buying what I'm selling. I ain't worth a penny. So then when abuse starts, I'm not talking and I'm not vocal about abuse from somebody else, because I already got in my mind I ain't worth a penny. And so this is why I'm saying, I don't care what you are feeling right there at that particular moment. You got to remember, this stuff goes with your children from now until. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go back to what James JJ said earlier. Your kids, and I know this to be the truth. And then I had to heal to a point where I started letting some of that stuff go, because once you're wounded and offended, then you remember everything.
Everything.
I remember when you look to the right and I needed you to look to the left. And then by the time you look to the left, I'd already moved to the right. And that shows that you really didn't love me and you really didn't understand me. And we was in two different worlds. And now I'm out here, and then I got all kinds of buzzards and prey that's coming in and taking advantage of me and picking me off like I'm a piece of meat laying out in the middle of the field waiting for them to come down and eat it. And It's like it's a whole system that you put in motion, whether you're meant to or not. But those words and those actions are powerful, and you are the parent. And then you have to deal with the issue of the child that feels like I was unprotected. That's a whole nother can of worms.
At home.
At home.
Unprotected at home.
I ain't got to go out and about.
I'm unprotected at home.
So at the end of the day, if you are being verbally assaulted by your parents, I'm just trying to wrap my brain around that.
I will say there's no rule book to being a parent. And a lot of times it's a learning journey for both of you at the same time. There's a lot of, young mothers and fathers who they were babies themselves, who probably had the same experience, and it becomes a learning journey and experience for both of them. So that's why we appreciate the elders who come in and say, you know what, I'm going to show you something different.
Yeah, I think parenting is on the job training.
Mm-hmm.
It's just straight up on the job training. I don't care how much you've read. I don't care what you go through and try to prepare yourself for parenting. It's still on the job training. So I respect that. And then I had to listen. That was part of my counseling and growth, is to understand she was a young woman trying to learn and figure out her way. And she didn't have a mother either after the age of 12 of her, biological. And so her whole course of life changed as a result of that. So I had to learn to forgive her. And that's something that I needed to do for my own growth. Because you can't hold somebody guilty years and years and years, because all it's doing is killing you.
Absolutely.
So, but I had to process that through therapy and work to that end to get there. And that we're gonna go back and I'm gonna highlight mental health one more time for Black people. Listen, when you got situations going on in your home, y'all go get some counseling. I ain't talking about fast and pray. That's fine and good, but you need some professional therapy.
Yes.
And you are right, Mr. Reynolds. There was a lot of undiagnosed mental illness with our parents and the older generations. And that's true, too, because some of them came from straight up abuse.
With the survival mentality.
Sexual abuse. And there's a whole lot of Black folk who want to say, wasn't no incest in our family, wasn't no meddling and tinkering, wasn't that? Yes, it was. The whole family was incestuous. And that's why y'all did a whole lot of that. Whatever happens in the home stays in the home. You don't go out and tell it, because y'all know all of y'all was fondling on everybody else. Y'all ain't buying what I'm selling. But at the end of the day, when I got to deal with it from the parent, then coming back around and, and that's one thing I'll say. I never saw my dad raise his hand to my mom. I never saw my mom raise her hand to my dad. There was no physical violence. There was no verbal violence. All of that, that's foreign to me. That stuff came into my environment from an outside arena. So at the end of the day, I still can have a tremendous appreciation that even though my mom may not have known how to respond to that particular situation, which kind of sent me on a spiral in a direction, for the other things that I needed, that was in the home. So I just want to really be clear on that. At least I had that. And that's where I'm trying to deal with when kids feel like it's okay for me to cuss my child out like they just nobody, or tear them down like they are nobody. And you came at me disrespectfully and I'm going to come right back at you. I don't know about that, y'all. I don't know about kissing cousins, Mel. There was a whole lot of that. And y'all was supposed to be doing this and that and the other. And y'all was behind the bushes and fingering and fondling and everything.
Whoa.
Tell the truth. Y'all, I'm telling you, stuff that was going on. Y'all might as well quit playing.
Not fingering and fondling.
Fingering and fondling.
At that point, you might as well just do the deed.
Well, someone was doing that too.
Wow.
I'm talking about family members. Don't y'all play with me.
Whew.
Oh, I done took it. Mr. Reynolds said, wow. I'm telling it like it. Now, y'all know this is Yes You O Cube. Oh, this ain't O Cube. This is with friends. At the end of the day, But at
No,
the end of the day,
this
you
is
got to
old
deal with. See, y'all, I'm trying. Don't play. It was a whole lot of stuff, and particularly in the Black community, we try to say we didn't do that. Yes, we did. Yes, they
So,
did.
so in the situation that sparked all of this, because we're only addressing it because a face has been put to it. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming there was an exchange between a father and a son that most people feel was kind of crazy. And we're only addressing it because a face is put to it. I mean, people deal with that every day. But does that, whatever we've seen, because again, I haven't seen it, would you then say that's a bad parent?
No. What I'm addressing, and this is why
Mhm.
you're right, Michelle. We wasn't allowed. We had a certain group of people that we could go to their house, and that was it. But I also want to say this for all of y'all bringing folks to live in your house. Some of them folks you bringing in your houses is fingering your kids. So let's be real on that too. Third
Wait,
cousin
is there a deeper story here?
no, I'm
Because
just
there's a whole lot of fingering going on.
It is a whole lot of fingering going
There is
on.
a whole lot of fingering going on. And this is what I'm trying to say. So church people, Black people, y'all want to play this game or stick your head in the sand. We don't know what all's been going on in these people's houses. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to get us to understand is the breakdown of communication, because this is part of why all of this goes on in our houses, all of this goes on in our churches, because we have children that can't talk to parents because parents don't know how to talk to the kids.
And there you have it.
Some of this would be stopped if kids could talk to parents, but parents don't know how to talk to kids.
So would you say that's something that's been something that's been happening for generations?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, as Larry Reed would say. Now, y'all getting uncomfortable like, oh my God, it's something deep. I'm just telling the truth. Parents, there's a reason why your children do not talk to you, especially if you gonna cuss them out.
And then when they need to, they can't because you're unapproachable.
They're not gonna say nothing. And then
they cannot.
This is the kicker when we do why didn't my child talk to me? Because you were not approachable.
And I think also a lot of parents in this generation, which would be our generation who had kids, they're compensating for what they didn't have. So the sternness, the expectation, the direction that our parents gave us back in the day when we were kids has kind of been lost a little bit. Because I think it's come to a point, and it's probably been generationally after every generation that my parents did this, so I'm going to do something different for my kids. And a lot of times we see it, especially when the money's involved and you got a little more freedom to, splurge on your kids. There's there comes a lack of respect over time. To me.
Well, you know what? I've seen this. That's it, James JJ, overcompensating. I've seen a lot where rather than talk to my child when I have more means, then I buy, I give, I purchase, I do this, that, and the other, but you're still not talking to your child, and your child still doesn't have a relationship with you. And I have a very good memory of a situation, a familial situation, not in my immediate family, but extended, where the parents had buku money coming in, but they spent no time with this child, and the child was crying out for attention and love, and they got everything under the sun. They got everything you could dream of. They had everything in the way. If it was something out there, they got it first, but they didn't have love. They didn't have the parent. They didn't have presence, and they sure didn't have conversation.
And it shows as they get older. I mean, I'm sure we all know you could have cousins. Oh, these cousins got everything they wanted, this, that, and the other. We was over here struggling, and then when you see these cousins the same age you are, they barely making it. Because they had the money, they had the resources, but like you said, there was no love, there was no direction, there was no appreciation for the small things that we were able to have. Yeah, and you see a totally different separation because, like Mrs. Ronald said, sometimes the materialistic things replace love, and guidance.
And I saw that same situation where when the parents were deceased and they came into hundreds of thousands of dollars within 6 months, they were broke, including all the property. So, this is what I'm saying. There's so much more to what's going on in the Black community. And I want to challenge this idea that it's okay to talk to your children any kind of way, because somebody's got to be the grown up here.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like Tyrone said, that we're only discussing this because of the situation that's hot right now. But this has been going on for years and decades and decades and decades.
Yes.
And it needs to stop somewhere. And now that we have gotten a little bit more, we don't have our 40 acres and a mule, but we got a little job and some money. So instead of showing love and having conversation, we're buying them PlayStations and we buy them this and send them to the bedroom to play the games and blah, blah, blah. And so now you're not approachable.
Exactly.
Parents are not approachable. Like my girls, I want them to feel like they can talk to me about anything. And they do. I mean, anything. And no judgmental spirit at all. I don't care what it is. Now they're grown and I don't get into their business. But if you need me, I'm here.
Yes.
And we do conference calls all the time. The girls and I get on and we just laugh and cut up. But you have to be approachable and you have to let them know that they can talk to you.
Yes.
That you're not going to go off. You're not going to be judgmental. And so, but you know what? That comes with maturity and it comes with time. It comes with conversation.
Yes.
And, and so if there's no conversation and there's no love, then the relationship grows apart like that.
Exactly.
And everybody feels like you don't love me. Well, you don't love me either. Blah, 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 blah. Now it's a big mess.
Exactly. And you really hit something there, Rhonda, because you have to establish that relationship. And I don't think that's established when you are verbally abusive and violating the person that you're talking to, particularly if you want them to look up to you and respect you. And I cannot tell you, and I'm not going to put folks on blast, I can't tell you how many phone calls I get on a regular from other people's children because they can't talk to their parents. And those kids, and some of them are grown adults, they know they can tell me anything. And when I say anything, I mean anything. I had a young man come in my space after he murdered somebody, and that's the doggone truth. And Johnny can tell you I'm not lying about that. Yes, I said murdered somebody.
Yeah, I had someone that raped somebody that did that also. Yeah.
And people need to be able to talk to somebody without judgmentalism. And they're hurting. And more times than not, they want to talk to their family members, but that relationship is not there. And we got to stop playing games with that.
Correct. And it has to be started at a young age. You can't wait until they're grown and then say, but we can, no, you have to do that when they're little. We have what we call an open door policy here. I'm kind of middle of the fence, mostly old school and some new school as well. So, my kids don't talk back. They can say a sentence or two that I would not have said, but we do watch tone and words. But you can come to me and talk to me about anything. One of my daughters sat me down and talked to me one day, and my kids are young. And some of the stuff she said, I was like, questions that she wants answers to. But I knew I had to sit, and no matter what came out of her mouth, I have to ride with her if I want her to tell me something when she's 20. If I want her to come to me and say, Mama, something, 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 if she's 30. It starts now. You have to get them when they're little. And let them know that what you're saying to me is important. I am listening. You're just not something in the background going on, and just because it's a note or something somebody wrote you at school, it doesn't really matter. It does matter. If it matters to them, then it should matter to us. And we have to sit and listen and cultivate that relationship while they're small, because if you don't do it, you can hang it up. And when they need you, if they need protection, if they are afraid, they will not come if they don't feel protected. It will not happen. And they will be out there fending for themselves, and then they will bring it back. It's going to come back one way or the other. And then there you have it.
Right.
They sit it right in your lap. And what can you do with it?
Right.
And I think where a lot of younger parents or younger generation falls short in that situation is because they have, like Jonna said, she has an open door policy, but there's guidelines and there's structures to, you can express yourself, but there's still respect. There's still, you're not gonna just fly off the mouth and talk crazy. Where a lot of the younger generation want to have that open door policy where now we're friends. And that's where it gets lost to now we're at a point where we're talking to each other like we're two people in the street and we're cussing each other out and the respect is gone. I can say for my mom, I have a relationship with her that we can talk about anything, but it had to get to that point because as Tyrone as a kid feared her. She did not abuse me. She was not disrespectful, but I knew not to play with her. So there was that wall up of, I'm going to stay out of mama's way, this, that, and the other. But as time has gone on and we've gotten older and we've matured, we've been able to have that conversation and we can talk about anything, which would have been amazing as a kid to be able to feel comfortable enough with my mother to come to her and say, and talk about anything and not worry about disrespecting her or saying the wrong thing or being out of line, this, that, and the other. So that it's good to have that balance where you have that open door policy and starting with your kids, when you're with your young kids, having that expectation of we can talk about anything, but also still being in a place of I'm your parent and I'm going to guide you. And this is what your expectations are. And we're not friends. We're very close, but we're not friends. Because when we get to that point of we're friends. We talk about everything. We kick it. We hang it. This, that, and the other. With your 6-year-old, your 18-year-old gonna wind up growing up cussing you out because they're gonna treat you just like they treat their friends.
They gonna wind up laying their hands on you. Suddenly.
Correct. And you gonna wind up laying your hands on them, and then both y'all gonna be laid out.
Somebody gonna be dead.
Right.
Marvin Gaye syndrome. So when you get finished, the worst thing you can do is have a father kill his child. But I understand people get that angry where they feel like they're really at that level of anger and whatever with their child. But my goodness, and
I've heard people defend that situation. He shouldn't have been. And I'm like, he killed his own son.
Listen,
it's not funny, but how can you possibly defend that behavior? What?
I brought them into this world. I'll take them out.
I'll take them, yeah.
Make one look, make another one look just like you.
Right.
And so,
if we start now, we can change the narrative of people going forward.
I agree.
Where people are
this conversation, because we need to stop it. I'm telling you, when I wasn't trying to, again, yes, there was a situation that precipitated this conversation, but I wasn't trying to talk just about that situation. I'm concerned because I've seen it all the way across the board from the far left to the far right and completely imbalanced where people just feel like this is just the way it is. And I'm like, no, this isn't. I refuse to accept that on either side. The child was wrong. Everybody's wrong. This whole scenario is wrong. But we need to address how we talk to one another and how we are destroying one another with our tongues and our words. That's not okay. I don't care who you are. And I've seen real churchy people who don't cuss at all, who are the most verbally and physically abusive people I've ever seen in my whole daggum life. That's true. And so people are wondering, even as you said, is there something underneath here as far as me?
There has to be
the sexual abuse. I'm pulling that particular comment in when I was talking about the fingering and fondling, because those are the kids that 9 times out of 10 end up being sexually abused by a predator. And I cannot tell you how many times I can associate people that have come to me and talked very openly to me about these situations in the home and how they end up, because it's almost like, listen, there's a predator radar and they pick them kids up and they pick them out and they pick them off repeatedly. I've seen that connection repeatedly, where that breakdown exists because a predator knows you don't have an ability to talk to somebody in the home. I got you.
And a lot of that came because for a lot of parents, they raise their children with the fear tactic.
A lot of the parents were victims of predators too. They just didn't tell.
Correct. but a lot of parents, especially us older generation, not saying your parents were abusive, not saying your parents cussed you out, disrespected you, this, that, and the other, but there was a fear tactic that if I step out of line or if I do something outside of what's expected of me, I'm in trouble. So then you fall prey to those people because you're not going to say anything. And then this one person is giving you something or expressing something to you outside of what your parents do or express to you. And not a bad thing. I feel I grew up with a fear tactic, and I feel that kept me in line. Like I said, I see kids in the store today step out of line to their parents, and I get nervous for them. So that kept me in line.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel especially with the older generation, people raise their kids with a fear tactic.
Well, I'm gonna go back. They didn't have Oprah like we had coming out of the 80s.
Correct.
So they were doing the best they could, and they really didn't always have people to talk to. And we talk much more freely and openly now than they did back then. A lot of that stuff, what goes on in the home stays in the home. And some of those, if we stop and look at it, our parents were kids too. Our parents were kids. So they're doing the best they can, but where are they gonna get information from? They don't know where to get it from. They don't have anybody to talk to. They're not talking about it at church. They're not talking about it at the barbershop and the beauty shop. They're not having open conversations like we would potentially have now. So they had nowhere and nothing. But I think Sheila said something earlier. How open would young parents be now to being mentored by someone that can help them along the way in maybe some of these areas for people that have walked that journey? And maybe we need to look at how we can provide that mentoring program, because to speak to your point, if this person was abused and had a hard childhood coming along in their youth, they're going to replicate what they came from.
But then you also have to ask, how open were our parents to a mentor to raise your kids?
They didn't have, that wasn't even an option.
So, I mean, yeah.
And you're talking about maybe one or two generations, depending on how old your parents were, from slavery. So, and we got to bring that into reality and perspective as well. So you come from mass in the field and folks beating you and abuse and all of this and that and the other. I got a friend my age that they actually lived on a plantation. So, and she picked cotton. Yes. There were still places.
Wait, how old are you again?
Almost 60.
And you had a friend that lived on a plantation?
Yes, I do.
Do they still live on this plantation?
No, she does not.
Oh, wow. That's an experience.
The idea that people think that we're so far. I grew up where we didn't have running water. We had an outhouse and we used lanterns for light. So I'm just saying that to the extent sometimes we think we're so far removed from certain situations, but there's some stuff that's right in our backyard that we just talking about yesterday. So then when you start talking about resources and abilities and knowledge and all of that, it's not the same for everybody. Correct. And we're not that far away from slavery. So no, our parents did not have that. Your grandmother did until her. That's all I'm saying, Michelle. You know, and my friend, she right now today, when she talks about how her fingers were bleeding and how she was abused and everything while she was out there working in the field, I can't wrap my brain around that. And she's my age, but some of y'all can't wrap that are my age, cannot wrap your eyes around your mind around. I went someplace where there was no running water, outhouses, and my sisters can tell you, I'm not lying, I'm not making it up. You know, and we used lanterns and there was no electricity and all of that. I grew up like that.
If we could bring her on, I would love to just engage with her to know what that experience was about.
Horrendous.
I mean, if we could bring her, I think that would be amazing. I know back when I was in college at Norfolk State, we had a woman who was on a book tour from Mississippi. She had a book, The Last Slaves of Mississippi, and the schools like William and Mary and ODU and all, they protested her coming to schools because she was telling the story of in the 60s, there were still people in slavery in Mississippi.
Yes. And to speak to your point, Michelle and Mr. Reynolds, she was originally from Arkansas, moved to Mississippi, and then came to Kansas City as her way out. And I'm talking about my age. So, you know, we it's insane. But the idea that we think all of this is so far in the past is not reality. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get to, some of those particular baggages and backgrounds, Child, you ain't trying to figure out how to raise your children and talk to somebody when you still dealing with picking cotton in the cotton fields.
Yeah.
And I think somewhere along the way, we're missing all of those dynamics. But one thing I will give her credit for, and she raised two daughters, two beautiful daughters, and both of them very successful. When she came to Kansas City, her mind and her heart was, I'm going to be successful and my kids are going to be successful and we going to have something. Probably her biggest drawback, Tyrone, and I wouldn't bring her on like some kind of negative scenario anyway.
Oh, yeah, no.
Probably her biggest drawback is that she talks in her educational level. You can tell that she was raised on a plantation.
But I was saying bringing her on. I mean, to me, that's an experience. I didn't grow up with grandparents, so I didn't have anyone outside of my mom and dad that I could sit down and talk about. Like I talked to my mom a couple weeks ago. Like, I mean, she was young when Martin Luther King was killed, but she still knows that experience. So I was saying bring her on because for me, it's an experience that I would never.
She's very sensitive about the way she talks because she does not speak her words like we speak words. She would speak like 2 generations back, but she's very intelligent. Just because she can't say her words plainly, she's very intelligent and has been very successful, and her children are very successful. And she developed a relationship with them where I would say in that scenario, they talk about anything and everything. I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up. I'm gonna let y'all out of here. But I just feel like at the end of the day, these are some topics that we need to approach because it's not going to go away and it's not going to just get better. There was a trigger point with somebody that everybody knows, but at the same time, this issue is a Black community. It's a people issue, but we really need to address it in the Black community. That's how I feel about it. I'm gonna jump back up to you, Jonna, Tyrone, and then I'm gonna let Rhonda close it out.
Are we doing takeaways?
Whatever you want to say, and yeah, we're gonna get ready to take away. I'm gonna let y'all out of here because I probably done abused y'all enough for the night.
I absolutely think it's a good conversation, a necessary conversation, especially amongst us Black folk, because it's been, and we've had a lot to deal with, absolutely, and it's been kind of swept under the rug. But I think we're beginning to now see the result of not dealing with it, because it just kind of gets worse and worse as we go on. And for me, my biggest thing with parenting is to create and hold space for my kids. Just and let them be in it, and whatever they are is okay. They have to know that. And another huge thing for me is I know that their self-esteem, who they think they are, where they think they fit in this world is tied up 100% in my mouth until they are ready to be out on their own. Whatever they think they are comes out of my, especially as girls, comes out of my mouth. I'm very careful, and I haven't always hit the mark. But it's a big deal every day, and I'm also huge on apologizing.
Yes.
I might have flew off the handle and yelled, "I'm sorry. I did not mean," be open to listening. That's a huge factor. Be open to listen. Be open to being corrected. That's one thing that we as Black people struggle with, especially parents, and especially when it comes from the kids. You are not right all the time.
Thank you.
You are not right all the
everything.
time.
Yeah.
You do not know everything. And you need to be able to sit down and be corrected, even when it comes from your kids. That's how that relationship, that's how that trust is built, is being able to go back and forth. It's not just one of those situations where you just stand up and blah, 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 blah at the kids nonstop and then walk off. It has to go back and forth. That's all I got.
Thank you. Tyrone.
Well, I'm going to say conversations like these are always good because there's a pattern when we have these conversations that we start with a topic and we realize that this same situation feeds into so many other things that are in fact impacting our community. One thing that was said earlier, I think you said, Jean, when you were talking about the experience of your mom, is realizing that no one's perfect and there's
Right.
no rule. There's, like I said before, there's no rule book about being a parent. And a lot of times, if you take into consideration of who your parents were and how they were raised, with not having parents and in survival mode and this,
Yes.
that, and the other, it helps you to better appreciate and understand maybe where they're coming from. And as we grow, we can grow together to change the narrative of what we're going to pass on to our next generation. But I say, just love your kids, love yourself. This also feeds into how we, like I said earlier, how we interact with people, period.
Mm-hmm.
How men speak to women, how women speak to men, how parents speak to their kids. I mean, it feeds into it all because it continues. So it's very important that we are acknowledgeable of how our words impact people overall, because your age doesn't change how it's going to impact you. It's going to impact you as a kid. It's going to impact you as an adult, and it's going to follow with you. So we have to be very knowledgeable how we interact with people, with each other, and just love each other.
Mm-hmm.
Love each other the best way you know how.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel you're falling short, then let's work together to learn how to love each other better.
Awesome. Rhonda?
Wow. That it's like you all said, boy, this can lead into a lot of things. And with our community, mainly our Black community, we've had the issue for so long, and that's why it was swept under the rug. What goes on in this house stays in this house. And so many people have been abused by that. And we have dealt with the last year or so. We've talked about Black Lives Matter. We talked about Blue Lives Matter, this lives matter. We need to let our kids know that your lives matter. We need to let each other know that your lives matter. We want to shut them down and make them think that their opinion doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Everybody has an opinion. You have one, you have one, you have one, I have one. But you don't have the right to tell me what my opinion should be. And so we've got to let our kids know you matter, your opinion matters. We want to hear what you have to say. We're going to listen to what you have to say. And then we're going to talk it out and come to a resolution. But instead, this thing where somebody has to be right, that's our problem. We always think you got to be right and you wrong. No, why come we can't come together and understand together and have a resolution? You're not always right. No one knows everything. We learn something new every day, regardless of our age.
Yeah.
But we have to be open and we have to listen. And as I said, listen with the good ear. Don't listen to respond, but listen to what people are saying. But your lives matter. All of our lives matter, and especially our kids.
Yes.
Our kids, we're molding and shaping them every day.
Yes.
And what we do and what we say is going in the ear gates and the eye gates.
Yes.
And that is so important, and we've got to make a change. Time to make a change.
Come on.
We are the people. We can do it.
Copyright.
We've got to do it.
Yeah. We're transformers. I agree 100% and then some. Listen, Mr. Reynolds is trying to say that Rhonda got the glow up.
I'm about to say, Rhonda, do you know Mr. Reynolds?
From the two extremes. I tell you, y'all mess. I love you guys. I just want to say I appreciate your input, and I want to thank God for the best mom in the world, and the best mom for me. That's why God gave her to me, and the opportunity to grow with her. And I think we're a perfect example of how you can grow in the Black community, even if there were some things that were lacking or missing or whatever you want to say, from what her experience was to her parenting experience and her openness to grow with me in my journey, in my healing, and subsequently hers. I think that is, oh my God, I just thank God. I thank God for that opportunity. It is then what allows the opportunity to then turn around. And Rhonda, I hear you. whether it's a murderer that comes to us, whether it's a rapist, and we've had that too, whether it's a child molester. Jonna can tell you we've had all of the above and then some. But when people can genuinely come and talk and open themselves up, and you can begin to love on them, Black Lives Matter, we matter to each other. That's what we've got to do. And even trying to find that non-judgmental space where people can just be people, broken, wounded, hurting, whatever. And we can love them back to health and love ourselves back to health in the process. Because it's amazing how many times when we reach out to help somebody else, it actually helps ourselves in the same voice, in the same same at the same time. That's what I want to say. I want to appreciate everybody. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, James JJ. Thank you to everybody. Let me come on back, Mr. Reynolds, and I saw who else was in here. Teresa was in here. SK 8843. Sheila Miles was in here. Doglex was here. To everybody that came in the chat, I want to appreciate you. Teresa, I appreciate you guys for coming in and giving us your knowledge and your input and your insight in this conversation. I always want to appreciate my friends because they're some of the best in the world. And I just want to say thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That being said, I want to appreciate also our moderator, or actually our engineer, I should say, in actuality. Well, she's actually moderating out there in Twitch. The Galactic Supervisor, otherwise known as the Rebel Inc., is out there taking good care of us. This has been a good evening. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully, we're going to really make a commitment to our children to bring them the best and nothing but the very best as we can at our very best. And as we always like to say, Tyrone's back. Yo, you back with him today, Michelle? You feeling him? You
thank you. Thank you.
Oh yeah, last week was kind of rough. And Mr. Reynolds, while you're in here, we haven't forgot about May and Men's Month. So there you have it.
Oh, I need everybody's addresses. We about to show out.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. As we get ready to wrap up and go out of here, you know how I always like to say, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Yes, You with Friends. This is Regina L. Stillman, your spiritual thought leader. So glad for Tyrone, for Rhonda, and for Jonna for coming in here and having this conversation with each of you tonight. I always like to end with that special thought. Peace for your journey.